Hi everyone, this is Chad Richardson, co-founder MVP Disc Sports.
I'm Brad Richardson, co-founder of MVP Disc Sports, and welcome to the virtual segment of GYROpalooza 2025. We just wrapped up the in-person experience of GYROpalooza, and it was incredible. I just absolutely loved interacting with the fans. It was awesome having Team MVP there. You know, we all got to participate in this signature line, interact with hundreds of fans. It was just so cool. One thing I personally really liked, having done the customer service in the early years of MVP, I knew a lot of names of customers, but never got to meet face to face. So being able to meet a lot of your customers from the early days was awesome. We really appreciate your support from the very beginning. So it was awesome to meet you all, and we look forward to working with you guys for the long term. And also just the staff was incredible. Just wanted huge thanks to the MVP staff. You guys nailed it. I'm just absolutely impressed with the dedication that you guys demonstrated to make the event just go without a hitch.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We had an incredible time. Fans, Team MVP, our artists, our staff has been phenomenal. We learned so much, we had a blast, and we can't wait for next year.
Let's get into the discs, and a lot of our other accessory products we'll be talking about, but get into the disc and this year's GYROpalooza pack. We got the 10-year anniversary wave, one of MVP's most popular distance drivers. It's a key role in many people's bag. Of course, the 10-year anniversary is a big milestone worth celebrating, so that was a big reason for that. And the Particle Proton Pyro. So we've had a ton of requests for the Eclipse Pyro, and there are some technical challenges with the regular Eclipse in the Pyro, so it's something that we can't quite deliver on. However, the Particle Proton Pyro, I feel like, is a great alternative. It's something new that we've been experimenting with, and so we felt it was worth doing. Particle Proton Particle. So a lot of questions were raised about why we brought this one back in particular, and overall we felt it was a great disc. It's very similar to the Envy, a little bit different hand feel. I guess Chad can kind of elaborate on that one.
Yeah, for those of you who throw the Envy, this is maybe something to give a try, because they have some subtle differences. Overall, the stability between the Envy and Particle are very close, and I think that's maybe why this just didn't get the attention it did, because I think the Envy just kind of took over. But the stabilities are very similar, but the hand feel is a little bit unique, where for those of you who throw the Envy, the wing is a little bit concave. The Particle is overall similar putting line height, but that wing is smoother and flat. So it's just a little bit different hand feel, but stability and all the great performance that you love out of the Envy still applies here, just a little bit different hand feel. So if you like the Envy, give this a shot. It's a great mold. So we're kind of excited to bring it back and hear some feedback now that we're testing the waters again.
And of course, we've got some representation for Streamline, one of Streamline's most popular models, the Echo. Fantastic disc, kind of similar to a Hex. I don't know, how would you describe it?
I would say a broken in Hex, maybe even a little bit more glide. It does have a tiny bit more dome than the Hex, but if you like the Hex, this is a great complement or something worth trying as well.
That would explain why it's so popular.
Yeah, and also another note is with our plasma plastic, we're really proud to have made some improvements to it. In years past, our plasma plastics had a really nice metallic sheen, but some of the colors, the brightness were a little bit darker than we would like. So our goal was to keep that really nice metallic sheen that plasma is known for, but we wanted that color to be really vibrant and pop and make it so if it's, say in the leaves or in the bushes, it's still gonna have that vibrance. And I really think we nailed it. And we also have a range of color in plasma. So at the end of the day, brighter, still that nice metallic sheen that you expect out of plasma, great grip, just always finding ways to make improvements, and this is a good example of that.
And last but not least, Eagle's signature design, the Boost. This is kind of a later stage in the prototype process. Eagle's really liking them. And we also experimented with the plastic a little bit. There are some of them that have kind of a pearly proton, and there's also some with the regular transparent proton. Just like natural swirls in our Neutron, You know, we have a variety of natural swirls. We, of course, preserve the solid colors. In the case of Proton, we like to kind of give a little more variety, so just experimenting a little bit and figured this was a great release to do so. All right, looking at some other things here. Particle Proton we got here. Kind of talked a little bit about the Particle Proton offerings in the GYROpalooza pack. Just kind of a new technology that we're experimenting with. Haven't fully decided if we're going to make it a stock release, but at least we just want to continue to experiment with it. It's got a really cool effect. You want to elaborate a little bit on the kind of how it looks when it glows?
Yeah, the particle eclipse effect is something we were really excited to experiment with. Honestly, we've never seen it applied to very many other industries outside of disc golf, let alone, you know, our option to put it into disc golf disc. And it was a really fun experiment to do. Honestly, we're still iterating and still experimenting. We're mostly collecting your feedback. We want to hear how do you like this effect. It's something unique to the market, and we want to hear what you think of it. We've been doing it in a few molds here and there. It's just a fun effect, so we're mostly interested, should we be rolling this out into other models, or do you prefer other effects over this? So very curious.
Yeah, in particular with the Particle Proton plastic, what's really neat about it is the combination of the proton, the transparency of the proton, as well as the glowing effect of the particle. The light that gets emitted from the glowing particles kind of shines into the transparent plastic and kind of makes the disc kind of glow the shade. You know, for example, this one, when you turn out the lights, it'll glow a little bit of a yellow color, or you turn out the lights on this one, it'll glow a little bit of the aqua color. So that's a really neat effect of the Particle Proton, is the way that the proton plastic kind of interacts with the particles.
Yeah, and I think it's understood that this isn't going to be nearly as bright as, say, our Eclipse plastic, but this is just something fun and new that we wanted to try, and we're curious if we should continue doing this, or should we focus on Eclipse?
In addition to the Particle Proton and Particle Eclipse that we've been experimenting with, here is another glow technology we've been working on, Eclipse Electron. We had some prototypes long ago, and this was one of the top requests in last year's GYROpalooza questions and answers segment, and so we made it a priority to resume development, and here we are with the latest iteration of the prototypes, and very happy with how this turned out. Feels incredibly grippy, like the Electron is expected to be. This here is the proxy. We'll probably be rolling out some more experimental releases throughout next year and the year following, and we want to hear your feedback. You know, if you really like it, there's a very good chance that we could make this a stock offering in the future. I guess that kind of wraps up with the various glow types that we've been working on between the Particle Proton, the Particle Eclipse, as well as the Eclipse Electron. Those are some new glow technologies that we've been working on this year. Look forward to seeing your feedback on everything, and we'll continue with our leading edge glow technology. I guess I'll segue into some of our other discs here.
Yeah.
The Trail, man, I think it's been a hot one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about the Trail. I think it goes without saying, it's one of the hottest drivers on the market right now, and you know, I think I touched on it and hinted on it last year how excited I was for the Trail, because this is a culmination of many years of disc design, and we've refined some of the geometries on how we make distance drivers, and this was a great example of that. You know, at the end of the day, the performance speaks for itself. I don't have to elaborate on that, but ultimately what we learned with the Trail is super confidence building on what we have in the lineup with our future distance drivers. You know, we have so many different stabilities and speeds that we're going to be applying what we learned with the Trail, which is super exciting.
Yeah, so the knowledge that Chad learned from the Trail, as he said, we're going to be applying that to a lot of our drivers. You know, we've really optimized the design. I guess the Boca is another shining example of where Chad has taken over a decade's worth of disc design, applying what he's learned to the Boca, as well as the time lapse. So we're kind of, Chad's really getting really good with disc design, and we're excited to roll out everything he's learned here throughout our distance driver lineup. You know, as our designs only get better, we're planning to roll out future additions in the distance driver, including maybe some complementary models to the Trail, as well as some other speed classes that we'd like to fill. Here's another great one, the Aspect. This kind of hits a stability sweet spot that Simon was looking for, right between
The Tesla Fireball gap. Yeah, at the end of the day, we have a lot of great, molds in our lineup, and as our elite players would be throwing them, they sometimes would find a stability gap that they would really love for their bag because they're playing at such a high level. A small adjustment to stability can really, give them an advantage on the course. And the Aspect is just a great example of that. They love the Tesla, they love the Fireball, but they just needed a slot right between the two, and that's the Aspect, and it's a great solid mold.
All right, this guy here, many years in the making, the Gyro X beam. So we've kind of touched on some updates last year, and so far we've made a lot of progress. In fact, I think we made the most progress this year than any other year. We're getting much closer on this one. I think we've hinted on this in the previous GYROpalooza, but the form of this prototype will be very different from what the end result is probably going to be for the beam, both literally and figuratively going in a different direction with the Gyro X beam. But we made a ton of progress this year. As far as any other specific details, I guess we'll reserve that for when we announce the product. I think it'll make a lot of sense when we do roll out the product as far as the changes that are taking place from this prototype here. This prototype is going to be kind of one of a kind because we're not going to roll out anything like this in the future, or at least when it makes its stock release. So really a true rarity in the collectibles as far as this particular technology is undergone.
Yeah, I think years to come, these are going to be just a really nice collector's piece, and a talking point about the long development process of Gyro X. All these prototypes are just a culmination of pushing the limits on not only geometry, disc design, materials, our processing. At the end of the day, there's many iterations of Gyro X and a lot of prototypes, but it's pushing the limits on all of those aspects of disc design and manufacturing. And like Brad said, as that prototype iteration has been ongoing, we're evolving this into a totally different direction that this is. So it's we're closer than ever. I think we've made a lot of progress just this year alone, so it's super exciting. At the end of the day, it's one of the most challenging and lengthy design challenges we've ever had in disc manufacturing, and we are getting closer than ever, and it's very exciting.
Yep. I guess kind of looking at another development we've been working on this year. We rolled out a couple of options here, kind of a new glide reducing profile, the range and turbulence, and they're filling a really unique role in the lineup. I guess, Chad, you want to elaborate about them, about kind of the role that they're filling?
Yeah, there's a lot to say about this glide reduction profile. And I should explain that we're not the first on the market to come up with similar technologies, but I am very proud to say that ours, I feel, are the most ergonomic. They achieve the goal of making it so it's very forgiving on a forehand. The center of gravity is lower, so when you forehand it, off-axis torque is usually your enemy, and this gives it way more forgiveness, especially on a forehand line. So that's been a really key aspect to this design feature. But what's fun is we started with the range. We learned a lot from it. It's very solid. We wanted something very neutral, glide reducing, so you can really aim at the basket and have it just drop very quickly and just sit down next to the basket. And then we figured we'd go to the opposite spectrum with the turbulence. We took the forehand popularity of the resistor and applied it with the turbulence, given that glide reduction profile. So ultimately, if you like the resistor, especially for utility, the turbulence was in mind, and it's very solid. So now at this point, with what we learned here on kind of the opposite sides of the spectrum in different speeds, we definitely plan to introduce some selective areas in our lineup, and not only Streamline, but Gyro. So MVP and Axiom will definitely see some introductions with this glide reduction feature. It opens up new doors for utility slots in your bag, so it's really nice. What's
particularly noteworthy is just there are a lot of situations out on the course that you really want that predictable drop, and I think that's kind of what you get here. There's a reason why putters are used for approach shots. They have more of a predictable drop than, say, a distance driver, and it's really kind of enhancing on that utility of a putter or an approach disc, where you've got that more predictable drop. The glide reducing profile just enhances that functionality of an approach disc, and we're kind of really excited to roll it out into more options in a range of stabilities and speeds, just because of that utility that they serve in those areas. I guess that kind of wraps up our thoughts of what we worked on this year for our discs. Of course, there's always more in the works, so stay tuned. A lot more coming, and we'll talk about them next year. But I guess we'll segue into a lot of our other accessory products here that we've been working on. So we'll bring them up here and talk about them. Talk about these Voyager bags here. Made a big upgrade on them. Got the Voyager Slim. Got the regular Voyager. And the Voyager Pro. The big enhancements of the Voyager series between the Voyager Pro, Voyager, and the Voyager Slim. Big upgrade to the back padding and straps, as well as the colorways. MVP, Axiom, and Streamline all have representation in the Voyager lineup. And as always, it's produced in Cordura 1000D material, which is mil-spec material, ultra durable material. If you want the most durable bag that you can get, Cordura 1000D in the Voyager series is where you want to look. But at the same time, the Voyager Lite series also offers a lot of great advantages there, especially the ripstop material that we use for those bags. You can pull those up. Again, very similar design as the Voyagers themselves, significantly upgraded back straps and back padding. But the big difference on this one being the materials. Ripstop material has an incredible strength to weight ratio, so these ones are significantly lighter, hence the name Voyager Lite. Material, so with it being a ripstop material, not a significant compromise to the durability. If you want, extreme durability, the Voyager, the premium Voyagers are the way to go, but these are probably the best value that you can get for your buck. Incredible value for the MSRP, and same ultra comfortable straps, but even lighter in weight.
Yeah, most particular ripstop is one of the most strength to weight ratio optimized materials. So this is a lot of weight off your back, but nearly as durable as Cordura.
And also, as we continue to expand our bag lineup, nice drawstring bags. Actually, we debuted these at the in-person experience just because everyone got a very unique event pack. You got an exclusive items that you can only get from the event in the event pack. In fact, we had a Eclipse rim particle proton pyro as something that you can only get in the event pack, just to give us a special treat to the in-person experience attendees. So we'll be rolling out the drawstring bag. Huge upgrade as far as what we did previously. Just a premium drawstring option. It was great for the GYROpalooza experience to carry your merchandise around, but also it's a great disc golf or non-disc golf utility. Another accessory product we've been working on, expanding our training accessories. As you know, we've got the pod, kind of helps you with your putting practice. Now we've added the Event Horizon to our training accessories lineup. So yeah, the Event Horizon net serves a very niche role in the training accessories. Obviously, the at-home practice baskets is a really great way to get a near on-the-course experience right in your backyard. But they are chains, the ring of the chains that we all love. Maybe your neighbors don't love them as much as we love them as disc golfers. And we also do have the sound barrier to help minimize that sound. That greatly reduces the sound. But if you need near silent training, like if you're putting late at night when others are sleeping, or whatever the circumstances may be, and Chad can demonstrate here how it works. Optimizing the catching hole to be as similar to a basket as possible, I feel is kind of important for your training. There are other sporting nets out there for baseball or other sports, but the size of the hole was not very optimized for disc golf. A larger catching hole just isn't ideal for disc golf training. So we wanted to deliver something that was ideal for disc golf. There really is a important niche role for this, and it certainly exceeded our expectations. A lot of people found that if they need that near silent, or they live in a crowded community, it's been a fantastic way to allow them to keep keep their practice going when maybe they're in a situation that makes it hard to do with a regular practice basket. But for those of you who do have a practice basket and kind of want to work on your training, we have the precision conversion strand. Very simple product, seamless integration. It's just one small little accessory here. Can convert your Black Hole Pro, Pro HD, your Black Hole Light, anything into a precision basket here. So just one little simple strand, and it just nice seamless look to it. Functions just like a precision basket. So, if you live in an area where it can tolerate the noise, you've got your best training here. Or if you need near silence in your training, you've got the Event Horizon. So again, trying to cater to every need, and no matter what, the pod is also a great way to stack your discs for when you're doing your putting practice.
You want to talk about the Black Hole Singularity? Absolutely,
yeah. Nice little upgrade product to our basket lineup, particularly for courses. The Black Hole Portal, Black Hole Gravity have the most chains of any basket on the market. Black Hole Portal being 36 chains and the Black Hole Gravity 30 chains. They are very resistant to pull bounces, but we wanted to just 100% eliminate it as much as possible anyways. This is a great upgrade for that. I think it accomplishes that mission. Essentially what it is it's a highly dense system of chains. Very dense system of chains that goes right here in the center. And again, you want that mass right in the center. Again, just like the singularity of a black hole basket, it's the point of no return. Once a disc gets to that point of no return, it's not coming out. It's in there. There's just no way that it can have that pull bounce. But an important part of that though is you need to preserve the middle chains in the basket, and so that's why we chose to make it an upgrade product. Because we've seen some companies they remove some chains here and concentrate them there, but the problem is prone to spit outs. So that was why we chose to make it an add-on product, because these middle tier chains is very important to stopping those spit outs, and so the Singularity is to stop the pull bounces. So I feel like so far this is the best solution to address everything that can go wrong on a disc golf basket, between the spit outs, the pull bounces. We've really refined the design on this, and we're extremely excited about this. But also what's really excited is that any existing courses with the Portal and Gravity can use this upgrade. So if you have a Black Hole Portal or a Black Hole Gravity course, they can upgrade. You can buy this product and it just integrates right into the existing course basket, and it's still PDA approved. It's actually a new basket model, the Black Hole Portal 48 or the Black Hole Gravity 42. Essentially that's the upgraded version with the Singularity upgrade. So it's unlike anything in the market, and I feel like it addresses every single issue you can imagine with disc golf baskets.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on one point. Some of the questions I saw that I wanted to address to help clarify the design decision as to why did we put the chain so close to the pole. And that's because right now, as it stands, the Black Hole Portal already has a plethora of chains around the outer tiers. We have 4 layers of chains. If we were to put more chains on the outside, what we've noticed is you'd actually have deflection. So if you missed maybe a little bit left or a little bit right, having too much chains on the outer or middle tiers will actually tend to push it left or right. And so that led us to what was the weakest point of our basket. And sometimes with maybe a hot putt or even an ace run, or if you were on the right angle, we would sometimes rarely see a pole bounce where it would make it through the chains and make contact with the pole, and that pole would tend to spring that putter back a little bit. And so we put all of those chains right against the pole, and those chains against the pole, when that disc makes contact, it's pinching the chains in between the pole, and it really dissipates that last little bit of energy we saw. Even without them, this is still a great basket, but that really eliminated that last little bit of pull bounce that we could occasionally see.
And as you know, we rolled out a version 2 of the Rover cart, made a lot of improvements to it. In particular, coming from the version 1, had a lot of components that that were prone for failure. So learning from that, we worked to simplify the design. without compromising the function. And I feel like we accomplished that perfectly. You know, functions exactly as intended, but the simplicity, significantly more durable. We chose to make it out of steel instead of aluminum, so just much more durable, much more rugged, and you know, accomplishes exactly what you're looking for as far as trying to get the bag off your back and onto the cart. The long-term vision is that the Rover cart will be a series of different carts for different needs. And this is kind of your entry level. And we've had some feedback and requests for more cart accessories. Certainly more to come. Obviously, we've got increased disc storage capacity, just, you know, more drink holders on the other side. So we expect to roll that out in the near future. So again, it's a Rover cart series. We intend to roll it out, more options, and serve every single role in the market. I guess wrapping things up with all of our accessory products, we also added a lot more swag, had a lot more requests, nice little sticker sheets that'll be coming soon, Velcro patches, and pins. So, you know, a lot of requests for more swag, and so bringing out some more, and I would expect us to continue to roll out more. So if there's anything that you're looking for in particular, let us know, and we will try to deliver on it. So I guess that wraps up our virtual segment of GYROpalooza. We really look forward to next year's GYROpalooza, especially the in-person experience, and that's why we've got the GYROpalooza pack, the Neutron Wave 10-year anniversary. There is a select number of golden tickets. They will be bottom stamped with the prize. So if you get that bottom stamped Neutron Wave in your GYROpalooza pack, that is your opportunity to get to the in-person experience. We really look forward to seeing you guys there. And also, there is no purchase necessary. There is the sweepstakes option online. Go to our website, go to the sweepstakes page, and it's free to enter. You just fill out that form and submit it, and there you are. You also have the opportunity to get into GYROpalooza with the sweepstakes option. So look forward to seeing you guys there.
Yeah, we had a blast this year. We look forward to next year, so good luck. We'll see you then.